Hi guys, and welcome back to another RC Plane Guy video. So in this video we're going to actually have a look at the Powerbox Mercury. So this particular one is the SRS version. They have made a slightly newer one, the SR2, but essentially the functions and features of the Powerbox are all pretty much the same. So yeah, we're going to take a look at it. I've really liked this. I found it a very handy tool to have, particularly in my jets so far. This is the third one I've had, and yeah, I thought I'd just do a bit of an introduction about it, walk through the steps of setting it up and what they're all about and how you can use them. So yeah, I hope you find it useful, but yeah, let's get into it. So let's take a look at what makes up the Powerbox Mercury. So obviously you have the unit itself. So we have all the slots at the top here, which was where all your servos will go. So they all plug in and you have individual signed channels. So you can have as many as are available there. You've obviously got your power input, so twin power for redundancy, so they would plug into your batteries, and you can power them by a variety of battery types depending on your preference and your needs for the system. As with pretty much most Powerbox products, the voltage is selectable, changeable, so to suit your model and your setup, whether that's a high volt setup going from like a 2-cell LiPo kind of 7 volts, or from more like a nickel metal battery, the older type with the kind of older servos, you could run 4.8 volts or 6 volts. There's a few different settings normally in the units. Obviously you've got your switch, so this is one of the older SRS models, so this is an older switch as well. Some of the newer models look a little bit different, but all the functionalities and the parts are generally the same. And then you have the screen, which is a digital screen that allows you to program the unit using the switch. So using a combination of the buttons, you can actually work through different menus in here to set up various features. And then you have the optional ports as well around the side. So you've got satellite ports there that I believe is for Spectrum users with their different satellite receivers. There's a telemetry port, and then you've got the 4 in the middle at the bottom here, which is GPS, receiver 1, receiver 2, and telemetry. So for me, I'm using Futaba, so I've gone with a twin receiver setup. You can generally use pretty much most receivers in here, as long as it's got like the S-Bus capability. Obviously other radio brands are work just as well and different features. My radio system is Futaba, so that's obviously what I'll be using. So yeah, we've hooked up one receiver into the receiver 1 port and then receiver 2 into the other one. And then finally we also have the GPS unit. So this is an optional part for the Powerbox. They don't come with these as standard, it's kind of an add-on that you can get. And all this allows is basically recording of speed in the gyro. So when you're flying along, it kind of helps reduce and increase your gain according to your speed. So obviously if you're going really fast, then you want the gain to reduce, and then if you start slowing it up, you want the gain to increase, because you're going to need a little bit more in there to combat the wind at the slower speeds and things like that. So yeah, it's very smart. It all does it in this little box, and this is now my 3rd unit. I've used them in 2 others, my Ultra Flash and my Eurosport, and I'm now going to be using them in my next model. So yeah, let's move on to powering it up. Okay, so first things first, I already have pre-linked my receivers to my transmitter. So we'll just turn the transmitter on first. Okay, And then so we're going to turn the system on. So I've hooked up 2 LiPo batteries, just two cells, and then we're going to go for a turn on. So with the switch, you have the button here that says set, and then you have a 1 and a 2, and these relate to basically batteries 1 and 2. So to turn it on, you hold the set and then press 1 and then 2, and you should see the green lights come on. When you hold the set button, you see the red light up like that, and then you press 1 and 2, and the system comes on. So you can see everything lights up. You have some there are some blue lights in there in the actual unit, and of course the display lights up. So this gives you various bits of information like your battery voltage, your receiver status to make sure that they're okay, your GPS once that's all set up, the gyro gain, and yeah, various things that you can look at in there. So from there, once we are in the system and we're ready to get it set up, so you press and hold the set button for a few seconds and you'll see the menu pop up. So there's a number of different things that you can toggle through. So you use the 1 and the 2 buttons, so you can see that little dot there moving down the screen as it cycles through the menus. So you've got various different things in here. So you've got settings for your gyro, a door sequencer, so if you have any gear doors mixed in with your retracts, you can do all the sequencing through here. Servo matching for if you want 2 servos or more matched exactly the same. So for example, if you have a wing that maybe is a big aileron surface that maybe needs 2 servos to operate it, you can match them so that they're both moving it exactly the same, and there's no binding or difference in the servos. Output mapping, which teaches kind of the outputs in the unit itself, what they relate to, similar to the input mapping. So input mapping is what it relates to in your transmitter. So if you have a function in there, that's what it feeds into in here. General settings, there's a few little things in there which we'll go through. You then move on to the next page where you have the setup assistant, which is where you can go through a complete setup as if it's you're setting up the model, setting up the unit, which is what we're going to do. And then also the test fly assistant. So this is when you're ready to set up the gyro, and you actually can go through that menu when you're ready to set that up, and you kind of work through it when you're actually at the point ready to fly the model. Obviously you've also got a factory reset if you want to completely reset it, and a PC control, because generally a lot of the Powerbox products also have the ability to control them through mobile device or PC, so you can plug in and set things up a little bit quicker and easier through a laptop or the Powerbox mobile device that they sell, if you didn't want to use the screen and this method like we're showing here. But I personally have always just used this and found it pretty straightforward and easy to use once you get used to it. Obviously, once you get to the bottom, it just moves to the OK button, and for whatever you want to select, you always just press the set button. So pressing that brings us back to the main menu, and yeah. The other thing you can do is if you press the 2 buttons together at the same time, it switches the screen. So this actually gives you a bit of information about the flight recorder, so it can tell you about any antenna fades on your receivers, lost frames or holds. So it could be useful if you have any doubt that you might have problems with your receivers, or if you want to be just 100% happy that your receivers are in the best place in the model and they're not getting any signals blocked or anything like that. So again, pressing the 1 and 2 together to move back to the main menu. So what we're going to do is go through the setup. So press and hold again. And because I've actually bought this from somebody else, I am going to first complete a factory reset. So that'll just get rid of everything back to as if it's brand new. So click OK on that. Caution reset. Change it to yes. And there we go. So that sets everything back to exactly as it would be as if it's just come out of the box. So first things, we're just going to have a quick look at the general settings. So just to make sure that we've got the right system type for our radio. So go into the general settings here. And yeah, you can see it's actually currently set wrong. So TX system, it's currently set as DSM-X, so that would be kind of spectrum. So as you scroll through, you've got lots of different radio systems depending on what you use. So you've got DSM-2, DSM-X, DMSX18, M-Link, S-Bus, Jetty, HOT, JR, and that's it. So for us, obviously we want S-Bus, which is for Taba system. So select on that. Coming down the menu, I'm pretty sure some of these will probably be covered in the next steps when we go through the setup assistant. But in this menu, if you ever did want to come back in here, you can teach things like the failsafe, the frame rate of your servos. So battery type, so this is where you choose the battery type that's being connected to the system. So if we cycle through that, you've got LiPo, nickel metal hard drive, life, depending on what you want to use. So I'm using LiPo. You can regulate the output voltage, so you've got option of 5.9 volt or 7.4 volt, depending on whether you're running a high volt system or kind of standard servos. I'm actually running a high volt system in my model that this is going into, so I'll change that to 7.4 volts. You can then scroll through and again you can set the orientation and model type and all these things which we'll be covering in the setup assistant. So coming out of that now, we should be good to enter the setup assistant. So click into that. Caution reset. So just cycle the button from yes to no using the 1 and 2 buttons. You just as a rule, always go up or down with your 1 and 2 buttons, and generally select is always the set button. So you want to reset? Yes, because all it's going to reset is any kind of input or output, mapping, settings, gyro, things like that you may have done. But obviously we haven't done any of that yet because we're setting the model up. So yes, reset. First up is model aircraft type. So you've got normal, acro, delta. So for example, my Eurosport was set up as a delta if you've got a delta wing. V-tail, normal plus vectored thrust, and delta plus vectored thrust. For my one, we're just going for normal. So click set, and then it jumps to OK, set again. It's then asking us to move the flight mode switch to teach the channel. So the flight mode switch is something that you will be able to change from your transmitter in flight or on the ground for your model to move the gyro and the Powerbox into different modes. So generally you have 3 flight modes. You don't have to use them all. You can tailor it to whatever you want it to be. Generally, flight mode 0 is off, so you have that obviously for your initial flights to set up and get everything trimmed out. You don't want any inputs from any gyros. You also then have it as an emergency that if anything did go wrong in flight and gyro is having a negative effect, that you can quickly just switch it off. You then have flight modes 1 and 2, which you can then make use of depending on what you want to set it up as. You could have extra gain on different flight modes, you could have a heading hold, All of that will go into at a later point. But yeah, on my transmitter I've got this 3-position switch which I'm going to use for the flight modes. So it's saying just to toggle it. So if we toggle it, can you see there on the screen it's actually picking that up, and it automatically detects which channel is using in the transmitter to map it to the input in the power box. So then it's flight mode 1, flight mode 2 and 3 as it cycles through. Okay, so then when we're happy with that, click set and OK. You then want to move the slider or the knob to teach the gain channel, so which where we have that set up on. So I've actually put this on a slider on the back of my transmitter here for the gain, so sliding that up and down you can see the gain moving and it's picked up which channel it is. So at one end you'll have 0 gain, and then all the way through you have 100% gain. And this is when you're setting the gyro gain in flight. That doesn't stay on constantly, you would just have that for your kind of initial setup of the gyro and finding your gain point. And then when you're happy with it, you can flick the switch and it sets it, and then it keeps that for all future flights unless you wanted to fine tune it, which again we'll go into at a later point. I don't want to confuse things at this point. So yeah, it's detected that anyway, so we're setting and OK. We then select the flight mode configuration. So this is where I mentioned what you may want for the different flight modes. So flight mode 1 is gyro off. That's completely everything, nothing going on. And you can cycle through depending on if you want different things. You've got rate mode, attitude assist, gyro off. So for flight mode 1, we'll set that as gyro off. I think I've skipped a step, so I think I was actually meant to flick it into the different flight modes. So if we go back a step, make sure the gain is still registered, which it is. Okay, so then we move back into the flight mode configuration. So you've got gyro off, you then flick it into flight mode 2, and then you've got attitude assist standard, rate mode, attitude assist all, torque roll, vectored thrust 3D, depending on what you want it set up as. So I think we'll keep it as it suggests, so that's attitude assist standard. And then the same with flight mode 3, we've got attitude assist on all. So I'm going to keep it as that at the moment. It doesn't really matter because any of these things we can change in the settings once we're at that point. Okay, so then what we're going to do is start teaching some of the other functions. So as it suggests, we are going to move the aileron stick. So it wants to teach the aileron. So it's picked up which channels, aileron right and left. Click OK. Then we look in to use the elevator, and again the channels popped straight up and which output points they are. You'll see that the output points lists letters, so D and J, which relate to letters on the unit. So obviously you've got D and a J in there, so that's where you're going to want to be plugging your aileron servos or elevator. in this case, when you're ready to plug your servos in. And all of this can be referred back to at a later point. You don't need to memorise all this now. We can look at the outputs and work out where we need to plug things in. Then we've got rudder. Flaps. Throttle stick. You're then going to want to lift the tail up or down. So obviously this is intended as if the Powerbox is already all set up in the model. You do set the Powerbox up in kind of 90-degree angles, so it doesn't really matter too much as long as it's not kind of like set at diagonals. As long as it's either that way or that way, like at right angles to the center line of the fuzz. So let's just imagine that the model is it's in the model, and we're just going to lift that up and keep it steady, and then we're going to want to lift tail right, and then mounting detection complete. So it works that out itself with gyro that it's got inside it. We then do the set gyro direction. So obviously this is what you would do once your servos and everything are plugged in and it is all in the model. And what you'll basically do is move the model, and you'll be able to see the gyro reacting to your movements. And from here you can then set what your gyro direction you want it to be, whether you want it reversing or normal and so on for the aileron, elevators and rudder. So we're going to leave that for the moment and come back to that at a later stage. So then we have the basic setup assistant completed. So as it suggests, the next step is test fly assistant. So you would do that when you come to fly the model and you're ready to actually go through setting up the gyro, which would be there. We don't have to go into that, we can just come out of it. So it depends on how you want to do it. I personally, as I mentioned, would probably suggest setting up the Powerbox first, and with just the basic things. Make sure you've got your gyro off position set. Put the switch in that off position, which should then not make any difference to if you touch your gain button, because the gyro is off. Everything won't matter, and you just fly it like a normal model. Do your trimming out. Make sure you're happy with the general setup of the flying of the model before you start playing with any gyros, because at the end of the day, if you do have a problem with your gyro and you need to turn it off, you want that model to be flying correctly. Okay, so I think we'll finish that there for this video, and then we'll come back to it to set up the extra features, such as when it's in the model, and hooking up your servos, and also looking at the gyro setup, and if you like, we could also have a look at the gear sequencer. But yeah, let me know in the comments if that's something that you're interested in and you found this video beneficial, and if you'd like to see more of these videos. Thanks. Well, that brings us to the end of this video. Hope you've enjoyed it. Make sure to subscribe to my channel to keep up to date on all the latest videos. And don't forget, it's free, so you have no excuse. Make sure to drop a comment in the video or drop me a message to let me know if you'd like to see anything else in my videos. And if you haven't already, follow the link tree either in my profile or usually in the description of the video, that will take you to an online portal to access any of my other social media channels. I post a lot on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, whatever it may be that you're on, I'm on it. So go on and follow it. As quite often my content varies from platform to platform. I don't often post the same stuff, so be sure to follow in them all. If you're on Facebook, be sure to check out the brand new RC Plane Guy Community Facebook group, which is a whole new space I've created primarily for you as the viewers, and to be able to interact with each other, comment, post your own photos and videos, share that experience and knowledge that's out there. I know there's so many different aspects of the hobby out there, and it's great to see everyone enjoying it and showcasing it for yourselves. So make sure you join the group and post some content, because it's great to see, and I really want to build that into a great place